A distinguished gentleman walks through the corridor of the Waldorf Astoria, New York, with two heavy-set bodyguards. Coop, that do-gooder. I've got something for his ass. Gak gak, you will get my ship ready for 61 Cygna. I want all of my net wealth converted to gold. And meet me on the asteroid outpost 45, said the distinguished gentleman as he walked to the exit, seeming to be speaking to himself. He was talking to Gak Gak, his second in command, several miles away in an abandoned hangar on Long Island. Gak Gak answered with two fingers touching behind his left ear, looking around like he was guarding the ship personally. Sir, your ship is ready. The distinguished gentleman and his two heavy-set bodyguards got into a stretch limo that was waiting for them in front of the magnificent hotel on the famed Park Avenue. The limo took them to the Lower East Side heliport to meet his private helicopter being fueled to fly them to his ship in an abandoned hangar on Long Island. The helicopter lands in the area where Gak Gak is waiting at the abandoned hangar on Long Island. Three men jumped out of the helicopter and walked towards Gak Gak. When they reached Gak Gak, they turned without saying a word and walked to the hangar. The helicopter then takes off and heads to the city. When three men enter the hangar, Gak Gak enters a numeric code onto a keypad on the wall. When he pressed the enter key, the floor of the abandoned hangar begins sliding open, revealing the lower level where the ship was kept in its spotless, airtight, sanitized room. The room was equipped with high-tech instrument panels on the walls, which switched on as they walked into the room. All but Gak Gak got into the spaceship, where crew of 8 assorted aliens sat at their posts, awaiting their commander to give the next order. Gak Gak took off on his motorcycle as the hatch beneath the spaceship began to close. The door was sealed shut. The ship's defense shields came online. Then the anti-gravity device, the warp drive and the inertia canceller, a gravitational force field, the ship's propulsion system came online. The ship took off as the abandoned hangar exploded, leaving a plume of smoke you can see for 20 miles. When the ship reached the ionosphere, a region of Earth's upper atmosphere, from about 37 miles to 620 miles altitude, and includes the thermosphere and parts of the mesosphere and exosphere. It is distinguished because it is ionized by solar radiation. It took off at light speed. Two women pulled up in a late model sedan with their headlights turned off on a cold Long Island morning with Venus still shining in the sky. They drove past the fire and wreckage of the abandoned hangar as the driver looked up at the smoke rising into the dark sky. They drove all the way to the last hangar. The driver put the car in park and got out. The passenger followed closely behind her, looking around with the feeling that they are being followed as they enter the hangar. As they walked to the back of the hangar, a man walked up behind them with a sawed-off shotgun, pointed at the driver's head and cocked it. The driver then sprung into action. She whipped her arm around, pushed the gun out of the way with one hand, and elbowed him in the neck with the other as the man stumbled back. She then somehow crawled on top of him like a cat on a tree until she had him pinned on the floor with her knee on his neck. "Oh, it's you, Lockhead," said the man on the floor with a knee on his neck. "Nick, is my ship ready?" asked Lockhead, a female Federation operative. "Yes," said Nick as he walked over to a power box on the wall. He flipped the switch. The lights came on. When he pressed the enter key, the floor of the hangar began sliding open, revealing the lower level where the ship was kept in its spotless, airtight, sanitized room. The room was equipped with high-tech instrument panels on the walls, which switched on as they walked into the room. They got into the spaceship. The hatch were sealed shut as a metallic female's voice echoed through the communication system. The voice said, "The computer is online." The ship's defense shields came online, then the anti-gravity device, the warp drive and the inertia canceller, a gravitational force field, the ship's propulsion system came online. Lockhead got in the front of the two-man craft, and the Fawn got settled in the seat behind the pilot seat of the cockpit. They buckled up as Lockhead prepared for takeoff. Nick connected two wires and pushed the green button. The roof began to open, revealing a bright orange sky. Nix came over the communication system in the cockpit saying, "You got 2 bogies headed this way." "Thanks, Nick." "Take care of this place until I get back," said Lockhead. "You got it." Nick out. The ship went straight up 16,000 feet, then started accelerating 900 miles per hour, 1,000 miles per hour. Just then an F-15 jet pulled up beside the space vessel. The pilot signaled with his finger to land the vessel. "Race force field," said Lockhead to the onboard computer. The computer turned from silver to emerald green. At 1056 miles per hour, the jet started to lose momentum. So the pilot of the F-15 got behind the vessel and let off a couple of rounds, hitting nothing but shields. The spacecraft outmaneuvered the F-15 fighter jets with sharp turns at ridiculous speeds. When the ship reached the ionosphere, Lockhead gave orders to the onboard computer, "Go to warp 2, the ship takes off into space." Lockhead sets the ship's navigational system to Lawandi 21,185. Lawandi 21,185 is a red dwarf in the constellation of Ursa Major. Although relatively close by, it is only magnitude 7 in visible light and thus is too dim to see with the unaided eye. The star is visible through a small telescope. At approximately 8.31 light-years, 2.55 parsecs away, it is one of the nearest stars to the solar system. Only the Alpha Centauri system, Barnard star, and Wolf 359 and the brown dwarfs Lumen 16 and WISE 0855 are known to be closer. Lockhead adjusts the rear-view camera and starts recording the view of the Earth as it gets smaller and smaller in the camera. When Lockhead felt she was far enough away, she dropped out of warp. A spacecraft equipped with a warp drive may travel at apparent speeds greater than that of light by many orders of magnitude. In contrast to other hypothetical FTL technologies such as a jump drive or hyperdrive, the warp drive does not permit instantaneous or near instantaneous travel between 2 points but involves a measurable passage of time. Spacecraft at warp velocity can continue to interact with objects in normal space. Lockhead opens communication to the rear seat. "This ship is easy to handle. Now wait for the computer, and fire," said Lockhead. The girl shot the rear weapons, shooting all of the targets. The course was set. The stars were stunning as they danced across the cosmos. The solar winds were traveling from every direction and everywhere. The sweat from the girl behind her was all up in the air. In the heat of the moment, she heard the mission bell. It could be coming from her radar. She can hardly tell. When she looked at her radar, the object was so far away. Her head grew heavy, her sight grew dim. She had to stop for the night. All of a sudden her computer flashes the autopilot light and said, "Prepare for fight." "Where are you taking us, computer?" asked Lockhead. "We are headed for the Federation battleship, the Farrakhan. It's a lovely place." "Such a lovely place," said the computer. Lockhead knew what this meant, so she sent out one of her 2 probes to get a closer look. When the probe reached the Farrakhan, Lockhead noticed from the images she received that even though the battleship has seen its fair share of battle, it will do, she thought to herself. "I could use a shit shower and shave with all of the bells and whistles coming from the spacecraft's control panel." It woke the girl in the backseat. "What's going on?" asked the girl in a sexy voice. Lockhead, stunned by the sudden interruption, and equally turned on by the girl's sexy voice, replied, "We found a ship. I can probably get us a room and some food. They'll let us in, no sweat. Just let me do all of the talking." After a few hours went by, Lockhead was awoken by the cockpit knocking, and the lights on the control panel were flashing off and on. The spacecraft was caught in a tracker beam. She turned on the life support system, took off her helmet, and then opened the lines of communications to make contact with the gigantic Federation battleship. "Let me clear, Captain. We are in need of provision and rest, so we will require a room I can pay, and I have a docking permit," said Lockhead. The image of a bearded man with a fat face wearing a beret appeared on one of Lockhead's 4 LCD screen built into her control panel. Said, yeah. Come on." The communication went dead as the screen went black. "The captain, standing on the bridge, got a good view of Lockhead on a big screen and was moved. The now tiny spacecraft drifted closer and closer to the gigantic Federation battleship. When they drifted in the shadows of the battleship, everything went dark. The traffic consisted of hundreds of other small spacecraft that flew around the battleship like small fish to a whale. Now they were close enough so Lockhead could see where they were going. Suddenly 2 probes came from out of nowhere and began patrolling traffic using flashing lights and loud noises. When they made it to the docking bay, the tracker beam released the tiny vessel and the 2 probes simultaneously said, "Right this way." The 2 probes led the vessel to a parking spot between 2 vessels. When they were settled in, the computer on board Lockhead's spacecraft said in a relaxed voice, "Please remain in the vessel until life support is suitable." It was a bit chilly in the van. This made Lockhead's nipples hard and was revealed through her spacesuit that fits her like a glove, like it was custom made to do just that. Lieutenant Tom Haynes couldn't help himself. He had to get a glance, and when he did, he nearly lost control. He regained his composure and continued with his questions. "So where are you from?" he asked Lockhead, trying to make small talk. "Earth," said Lockhead. "I never went there. You should tell me all about it. Maybe over dinner," asked Lieutenant Tom Haynes. He punched out a few codes on his keypad and a small machine on the wall in the van switched on. An intense red beam of light flashed on. Lieutenant Tom Haynes directed the women's attention to the scanner with his hand. The machine scanned their retina in seconds, beep, and it was done. The van seems to be hovering at top speeds through the crowded corridors of the gigantic battleship. The traffic was no problem for the van, as the 2 probes hovering in front of the van alerted the other vehicles of its importance, and began patrolling traffic using flashing lights and loud noises. The van came to a stop in front of a pair of heavy-duty double doors. 2 armed guards stood on either side. The armed guards were cyborg and came to attention when the van came to a stop. "Well, this is our stop. These are the keys to your chambers and the mess hall. You are free to roam the ship, but stay out of trouble. I still have more questions for the both of you. I'm merely awaiting the computer analysis of your retina scan," said Lieutenant Tom Haynes. "Retina scan?" inquired Lockhead as she looked around the van for a retina scanner. "Don't worry. It's standard procedure. You guards wait out here," said Lieutenant Tom Haynes as he got out of the van and walked into the women's quarters. The girl jumped out next and followed Lieutenant Tom Haynes into the women's quarters. Third in line was Lockhead, with a smirk upon her face, looked at the guards up and down and said, "They look like I'm the treat in this place. Man, look at those females," one guard said to the other, using their shortwave receiver and Panasonic brain.